Now, Namibia's vice president has been declared the winner of last week's presidential election. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah will become the Southern African country's first ever female head of state. The Electoral Commission said that she had won with more than 57% of the votes cast, with her closest rival getting 26%. So the ruling party, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, or SWAPO, which has been in office since independence more than 3 decades ago, managing to hold on to power despite its worst ever electoral showing. However, the opposition have said they will not accept the result. The election was marred by technical difficulties and ballot paper shortages. Well, let's speak now to the African Affairs analyst, Professor Tunde Esan, who is a professor of international relations with a focus on the history of African elections and democratic developments on the continent and beyond. And Professor Esan joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
So, a historic moment for Namibia, getting its first female president. Tell us more about the significance of this.
Very important, and from what we have seen so far, it's a monumental change when it comes to women ascendancy in politics in Africa. Not only, we have only 2, she's the president-elect of Namibia, and of course the only other female president is Samia Esan, of Tanzania.
Yeah, Tanzania.
So Tanzania. So it's very, very important, significant. And what is even more important is to look at it that, look, the Namibians just decided to connect with history, about 60 years history of SWAPO. You understand? Most of them in the rural areas voted for SWAPO because they have never known any other party. And of course, the personality of Sam Nujoma, the first president of Namibia, looms large on the political landscape. A 95-year-old man who led the struggle for independence, again independence.
Well, I'm going to come to that in a minute, but just tell us a bit more about who Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah is. She's the president-elect, and I understand she's a quite seasoned politician.
Oh my God! I mean, you can't take it away from her that, look, this is one of the most experienced politicians when it comes to Southern Africa, if not in Africa. Understand? She started in the 60s when she was in her 20s. And in 1974, she went on exile, became the secretary and the representative of SWAPO in Zambia. By 1976, she was the representative of SWAPO in the entire East African sub-region. You remember, most of them are in exile, including Sam Nujoma. Not only that, she was the secretary of information and mobilization of SWAPO for so many years. So she has been on the beat for a very long time, and a well-known, incorruptible, and decent personality.
And was this result expected? Did everyone think that SWAPO would win? Because, I mean, the party has suffered its worst performance since independence 34 years ago. They only managed, from what I understand, 51 seats out of 96 seats in Parliament.
Yes, it may look like the worst, but it's not really bad. It's almost similar to what happened 5 years ago in 2019, when they won 56% of the votes. This time around, they won 57% of the votes. So it's almost the same thing, not necessarily worse, but the tendency and the trend is there that, look, the decline of the old political order is obvious.
But the opposition say they do not accept the result.
Yeah.
What do you make of their reasons for saying that?
Of course, the logistics problem, most people don't know Namibia is a very vast country, sparsely populated. In other words, it might take hundreds of kilometers to get to a polling booth or a polling station, as it were. And unfortunately, Namibia Independent Electoral Commission didn't make enough arrangement for logistics. Many of the towns, most of them have only one polling booth with hundreds, if not thousands of voters queuing up. So the votes...
it's not the first time they've held elections.
This is not the first time, but I think there was a big problem there. And they admitted it, the logistics. That's why the election was extended from Thursday to Friday up to Saturday, you understand, up to the 3rd, up to the 2nd December.
But in your
also
assessment, did those logistical problems negatively affect the electoral fortunes of the opposition? I'm wondering what the grounds are for them to say that they don't accept the result.
It's normal that under that circumstance, you want the best, a transparent process, not only a transparent process, a reliable process, not only that, a dependable process that you can really vouch for. But when there are logistics problems, which can happen anyway.
Well, was that the only problem? Were there allegations of manipulation or vote rigging?
There have not been any serious allegation of manipulation or, you understand, underhand, under the table,
Right. So do you think they're likely to perhaps challenge it in court?
Yes, that's what Pendulani Itula said, the leader of the, Independent Patriots for Change in Namibia. That's what he said. Right. He said they will go to court. So that's what he said. You understand?
So, well, for the moment, the winner is Miss Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah.
Yeah.
And obviously, all things being equal, she will become the president.
Yeah.
But in that context, the distribution of parliamentary seats will make it difficult for SWAPO to pass laws. So clearly, it's going to be a very competitive parliament going forward.
No doubt about that. They want 51 out of 96 seats. So that means they need 2/3 to pass the laws, and Independent Patriots for Change won 20 seats, as it were. So there will have to be cooperation and, if possible, coalition working together, of parties working together in order to move some of the issues that might be tabled in the parliament, some of the bills and some of the major programs and policies forward. It is good for the system, and
yes, it makes it more democratic.
It makes it more democratic. Yeah.
You mentioned the towering figure of Sam Nujoma.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's very important for the younger generations, for us students of international relations and diplomacy for almost 40, 50 years. It rings a bell, the name Sam Nujoma. When you hear the name Sam Nujoma, you are thinking about Jonas Savimbi, Augustine Neto of Angola, and to a large extent, Nelson Mandela of South Africa. When I say that, I mean
liberation giants.
Yeah, these are liberation giants, and so I'm not surprised. So many students of politics, international relations and history, they are not surprised that his personality looms large at 95, and it will be, they may not have counted on it, as it were, but for the whole generation and those people in the rural areas, you understand, it rings a bell every time they talk about politics in Namibia. And not only in Namibia, in Southwest African sub-region, in Southern African sub-region, and even in Africa, the name Sam Nujoma rings a bell. And,
so given that, what do you think went wrong for SWAPO, going from enjoying such huge support to barely scraping through in Parliament?
It is normal. It is natural. You understand? Namibia gained independence in 1990, March. Between 1990 and now, we're talking about 34 years. And before then, from 1962, when SWAPO was formed, they are the forefront of. But looking at it, from 1990 to date, you have a brand new generation of Namibians, almost 50%, about 50% of the population. So it belongs to history, isn't it? Some of them, they hear about Nujoma, they hear about some of these activities that they have read about it. For the new generation, they are talking about unemployment. You understand? Some of the fundamentals that affect development, as it were. There's a lot of that, about 50%.
There are also lots of allegations of corruption.
Corruption, as it were. So it is normal. It is that they will look forward to a change, as it were. And don't forget that there has been a sweeping change in Southern African sub-region, as it were. Yeah.
I want to thank you very much indeed. I know you had a
much.
very busy day today,
Yeah.
and you took the time to come and enlighten
very
us
much,
about Namibia, so
Yeah,
we
it's all right.
appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Professor Tunde Esan is an African affairs analyst. He's a professor of international relations with a focus on the history of African elections and democratic developments on the continent and beyond. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Charles.
You're